All right, this is One Eye Jacks, and I hope you guys like the new theme song. I wrote that today, and got the old 8-track digital recorder working, which I didn't think would work, but after about 30 hours of farting with it, it worked fine. And what we're going to do today is going to be a short video. We're going to just go over the guns thread. Once again, you find all these threads, and there's always a commonality between them. And this one here is going to be all the clues to the constituent parts of a rifle. And in excuse me, in Full Metal Jacket, he's the movie itself is really how would I explain this? It's like a palindrome for the language you're learning right now. So in the movie, they have to learn all about the rifle and the bolt and the trigger and the stock and all the parts of it. And he has to learn how to assemble it, take it apart, clean it, and reassemble it. And so we see Pyle, and he's working on his rifle and he's assembling it and cleaning it, and he clearly is having some kind of psychotic episode because he's talking to the rifle and he's saying, I think he says it's perfect, clean, and he slides the bolt back and forth. So let's look at the different clues that we were given that we're looking for all the parts of a rifle. And we'll start with Roy Rogers, King of the Cowboys, and his horse Trigger. So we have Trigger. There's one. And that would be, on a rifle, would be your trigger guard. Or you could say he had a hair trigger. Then we have the whiskeys. You have double barrel whiskeys, single barrel whiskeys, Michael Collins, Jack Daniels bourbon. I'm not going to list them all here. Scotch, rye. So this is, he put both barrels in his mouth. It's what the old timers call cabin fever in The Shining. We have the Woodstock sticker that disappears off Danny's door. So we had a trigger. Now we have a Woodstock. We got a double barrel. Oops. Got a double barrel. Or you can, so this is also in Full Metal Jacket. They're not using double barrel weapons. They're using single barrel weapons. So we need to have both. So we got trigger, double barrel, single barrel. We have the Woodstock sticker that disappears off Danny's door. I'm sorry, no, it doesn't disappear. We have the Woodstock sticker on Danny's door, one of the Peanuts characters. Of course, the Peanuts characters are the Snoopy and Charlie Brown capsule names. So, he's not putting Woodstock on there just because of Woodstock and it's part of a gun. Oh, no. He's putting Woodstock on there because they're Peanuts. This is our crazy, nutty, fruity, I could go on for 5 minutes with all the crazy threads. But so it's another part of a gun. You have the wooden stock. You have the single barrel, double barrel, and your trigger. And when we get to this point, I also want to mention that, he's giving you the actual name of the ammunition in the metal. This is the title of the movie is, Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket is 7.62. Full Metal Jacket 308 armor-piercing ball ammo. So there's the bullet itself. He's giving. So you have the Woodstock. You got the actual ammo that goes in the shells that go into the gun itself. And he gives you the 223 Bushmaster, arm rounds in Full Metal Jacket as well. So, and we see in Barry Lyndon, he loads up his dueling pistol, his flintlock dueling pistol, and he puts the powder in it and the lead ball. So we're seeing guns, and we're seeing them loading guns, and the name of the movie is the ammo that goes into a gun. And we see Jack the Ripper, Sterling Hayden in Dr. Strangelove. He has a Colt 1911 nickel-plated 45 ACP pistol, and he kind of threatens Mandrake with it. And then later on, he goes in the bathroom and he blows his head off. So then we have the Hammer category. We have Hammer Films is the name of all the vampire films that Christopher Lee was in, is Hammer Films. We have the Apollo 15 hammer drop. So this is the famous, they proved 1/6 gravity, and they mention Galileo when they do it, which is weird because they really should be mentioning Newton, and so Newton's in their puzzle. And so Galileo hammer, feather, falcon feather drop. So we got another hammer there. And then we got, what do you think you're, Mickey Spillane? Some kind of writer? And Mickey Spillane, it's the Mike Hammer Detective series. So remember Detectives. Detectives is a new thread. There are various detectives hidden in here. We have Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle. Arthur Conan Doyle's birthday or death day is in the puzzle. It's 7/7. It's the one. It's at the Anya date. We have Sherlock Crater on Apollo 15. We have Bill Watson is Ullman's assistant. So we're being given clues to Arthur Conan Doyle. I'm not just, pulling this out of thin air. I mean, and of course the biggest one is Sherlock Crater on Apollo 15. I mean, how do you interpret that any other way than Arthur Conan Doyle? And of course Bill Watson is Ullman's assistant. So, it's just like Sherlock Holmes and Mr. Watson. And of course Peter Sellers mirrors Inspector Clouseau, Jacques Clouseau, just like Dr. Jacques Kubrick. That would be Stanley's father, a one-eyed Jacques. You have, let's see, I'm going to get off track here. So you have Sherlock Crater, Mickey Spillane, Mike Hammer. In the movie Barry Lyndon, the son that's not his wife's first son, Lord Lyndon, challenges Barry Lyndon to a duel. And so they're getting ready to duel, and they both have loaded guns in their hands, and they're like, okay, ready your weapons. And little Lord Lyndon accidentally fires his gun off. It goes off half-cocked. It's a thing with weapons like that. They have two cocking positions. You have a half-cock and a full cock. Well, he goes to put his on half-cock, and he drops the hammer, and it goes off. And it's a very crucial part of the movie because at that point, Barry Lyndon has the ability to kill his son, who keeps challenging him to duels, and he chooses not to kill his son. He shoots the weapon into the ground, and then his son has the chance to shoot again because it's a duel to the death, and his son loads the gun again and shoots him in the leg, and that's how he loses his leg. So he becomes the one-legged man. So, I mean, this all ties together. So you have he has the hammer of the weapon drops by accident, the accidental hammer. And then you have the all things Jack category. So you already had the jackhammer to the doors of perception. We have the Thor's hammer. This would be Project Fishbowl, where we shot the nuclear weapons at the dome. You have John. So then we go into, I mentioned there's a category of tools. So you have John Carpenter. You had Jesus was a carpenter. On Apollo, they used drills and hammers. You got Scott Carpenter, one of the Apollo Mercury Aurora astronauts, who names his capsule the Aurora, which is the goddess of, the Greek goddess of the dawn. And then we have the capsule Aquarius, which is, the age of the awakening. So he's giving you clues that there's an awakening happening. So we have the hammer. I know I'm going slowly because there's so many of them. The trigger, the double barrel, the single barrel, the nickel-plated .45, the 7.62 ammo. Then we have Gary Lockwood. So in a gun, you have the lock, the stock, and they always say the lock, stock, and barrel. That's the lock, stock, and barrel. We get the whole lock, stock, and barrel. Well, so you get the wood stock. Now you got the lock, and it gives you the wood as well. So the wood is already a category in the puzzle. We have elm and Elijah Wood and Natalie Wood and Woody Strode and Woody Wilson and Woody Allen, and I've made lists of these. So we got Lockwood. So this is another part of a rifle. And oh my God, it's just, these are just so coincidental that it keeps happening like this. And of course we have the Garand rifle. It's the Red Room, 5-time Grand National Champion. You have the Grand Overlook Lodge. You have the 1,000-yard stare. You have the Millennium Falcon. So then you have the Garand rifle. So the difference between Grand and the Garand rifle is that, So it's. And then we have the explosive bolts clue. In Apollo, all the Apollo LEMs, when they blasted off from the moon, they triggered all the explosive bolts. And you can see that in the videos. The bolts go flying all over. And in 2001, Dave blows the explosive bolts to get out of the door of perception in his pod, and he blows himself into the spacecraft, not out of. And the odd thing, the funniest thing about that scene is that's the exact scene you never see from NASA. You never see them transitioning from out of the craft into the craft, because one is filmed in a swimming pool and the other one is filmed in a studio or a zero-G plane. So you can't connect them together seamlessly. So they always cut between the pool shots, the Frank pool shots. And so he's giving you the explosive bolts. And so you have a bolt in your rifle. You have a bolt-action rifle. You also have a semi-automatic rifle. Has a bolt that slides back and forth, and it's operated by a gas piston. So in the movie Full Metal Jacket, we see Private Pyle, and he has that bolt, and he's cleaned it, and he's sliding it back and forth and saying, perfect, clean. So let's go down to, we have the 3M, bolts of 3M fabric were sewn together to, what is going on with this PC? Bolts of 3M fabric were sewn together. This is how they did the Apollo fakery. They got multiple rolls of this fabric, and they sewed them together, but they sewed them together in like asymmetric ways because they didn't want to make the seam noticeable. So when you look at the Dawn of Man scene and you look at the Apollo fakery where they're driving the rover around, you can see the fabrics weave in the reflection. So that's why he includes these bolts of 3M Scotch-Lite fabric. And then there's all the, we're weaving. Quilty and Sigourney Weaver and Hugo weaving, and the hand-knitted Apollo sweater, and Theseus and his magic thread. Here's the explosive bolts in 2001: A Space Odyssey. We have Galileo is the Apollo 15 Galileo hammer drop. Galileo is also very famous for perfecting the telescope. So here's the man that he invents the telescope. Then we have the missing crosshairs. The Apollo still shot photos, many of them are missing the crosshairs, which is impossible because the reso plate in the Hasselblad camera itself had the crosshairs on it. So even if you pointed the camera at the sun and took a picture, it would have crosshairs in it. But oddly enough, some of the pictures are missing singular or double crosshairs, just go missing, or you'll see a partial crosshair will be over part of a vehicle, and then the other part of it will be behind it. It doesn't make no sense. So he's hidden these little crosshair clues in his Apollo photos. So we have the explosive bolt, we got the hammer, we got the stock, we have the trigger, we have the crosshair, the sea hair rock. The sea hair rock goes missing. A sea rock is a crock of shit. You have fan crater on Apollo 15. So these little alchemical words he puts on the landing map, like fan. So during the Apollo missions, when you thought of fan, you didn't really think of when the shit hits the fan. But now that you're looking at this with a different light, fan crater is when the shit hits the fan. So, and it's the sea rock, the crock of shit that needs to hit the fan crater. And the reason there's a very good reason he picked the sea hair rock thing to do. And the reason is because this ends up in Ralph Renee's book on the Apollo fakery. And Ralph makes a big deal about this because his daughter was actually looking at a book they had on Apollo missions, and she noticed there was a C on the rock, and there was also a C behind the rock on the dirt. And he talks about this in his book, and I've seen videos where he talks about this, and he actually shows the picture just like I did. And they came to the conclusion that the sea rock was just a way to mark the center of the screen, the center of the film, or the center of the framing area. So when Kubrick was setting up, he could get it all centered on the sea rock. So that's why he selects the sea. This is why he uses this as a clue, because it's not just an anomaly found in a Apollo photo. It's an anomaly found in an Apollo photo that was in Ralph Renee's book, and he made a big deal about it. And then have Oswald's crosshair, and Oswald is mentioned in Full Metal Jacket. He shot Kennedy from the book suppository. And then they bring up the other guy. What the hell is his name? Anyway, they talk about the other guy that shot all the people from the clock tower in Texas, and that what do the two people have in common? So we're giving clues to what do the two people have in common. So what do Oswald and the other guy have in common? They're both Marines. They learned how to shoot in the Marines. So we're given Oswald was in the Marines. He shot from the suppository. And we have the pile and the suppository. And you gotta eat prunes, Miss Barnes, if you want to stay regular. All these clues to bullshit and bull. Then we have the odd weapons clues into Crazy Earl. Crazy Earl says, "I'll play General Custard," and then later on in the movie, when he says this, "I'll play General Custard," he's holding a Winchester lever action rifle, which is bizarre because no one was given Winchester lever action rifles in Vietnam. It's ridiculous. So this was put in the movie for a reason, and he tells us, "So I'm going to play General Custard." So General Custard is the George Orwell date. So he gives with the General Custard, he gives his George Orwell date. George Orwell date is the release date of They Live. And it's another rifle clue. It's a lever action rifle. It's one of the first repeaters ever. So it turns out that's Billy the Kid's rifle of choice, and you can see the rifle in the museum. He has the lever action Winchester. So here's the General Custard Orwell ping pong date sync. So we've got the ammunition. We've got the double barrel. We've got the trigger. We got the explosive bolt. We got the Winchester rifle. We got the 1911 Colt 45 ACP that's nickel-plated. We got Quilty in Lolita. He pulls out a snub-nosed pistol. I don't know exactly what pistol is. It could be a Smith & Wesson. It could be a Colt. I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's a snub-nose, and I think that's why he did that, because no one would know. I mean, you can't really see it close enough. So what else do we have? So we're clipping. These are movie clips. We're chopping. He cut his family up and stacked them neatly in the West Wing. And you have the Bell Jet Ranger chopper, and you have the Captain America chopper in Easy Rider. You have the Collins fire axe, the bread knife, the jackknife, the Bowie knife, the pen knife, the Matador's knives he kills the bull with. So when we find the clip, that fits right in, because these are movie clips we're doing. And also a clip is a magazine for a rifle. So you have a magazine and a clip. And of course, magazine, dovetails right into Kubrick's Look magazine pictures, right into Kubrick's Rolling Stones magazine interviews. And of course, the Playboy, the quintessential Kubrick Playboy magazine. These are, if you guys have not gone out and typed in Kubrick Rolling Stones interview and listened to it, or Kubrick's Playboy interview and found all the interviews he's done, you're really missing out on a lot of the clues that I'm not, picking these interviews apart and doing a paint by numbers thing. I'm just saying go watch listen to these interviews, and you're gonna hear all the little clues that I've been talking about peppered in those interviews alchemically. Kubrick always says Leon Vitali was interviewed, and he was talking about Kubrick, and because Kubrick only did one appearance on film, that's his D.W. Griffith Award ceremony film that he does. So that was his only appearance on, his really only professional appearance on film, and so Leon Vitali says, "Oh yeah, he got very nervous. He wasn't much of an actor, and he had his little comb set and his little makeup kit and everything because he wanted to get ready to be on film." And in reality, that is such a crock. And Leon Vitali knows this as well. Every one of these interviews that Kubrick did, he had these interviews, memorized. There's too many alchemical breadcrumbs in them to be just a random off the cuff. Oh yeah, this is somebody was talking. I think it was Pippi said the other day that she was reading or listening to one of the interviews and he was talking about, oh yeah, the movies are very multifaceted. So there's a million layers of clues in them, and to think that Kubrick was just ripping this off the cuff and it was just a random interview is a lie. And it shows you that he not only could he direct movies, but he could actually act in his own mini movie. All these interviews are him basically pushing his clue set out in a way that wasn't obvious, and clearly he had these things memorized like a script. And I'm getting off track here, but I think that was something that should be mentioned. So then we have the Colt 45 ACP. Well, a colt is a male horse, a young male horse. So these clues are woven together, and you have the Colt Bushmaster, which is a snake. So he's using these animals and these bizarre categories to weave these things together. So oh God, I'm losing it now. What is the name of it? It's The Cage. In The Cage, you have yeoman colt. So once again, we're using these, a colt, a mare, a jack, a hare. Then you have the Grand Overlook Lodge, and you have the Grand Rifle. I think I mentioned this one already, but it's good to mention again. Then we have the ammunition, and also in Dr. Evil, he makes jokes about I've never seen women of such caliber, when they have the machine guns on their jumblies. So there's other ways you can use caliber, and but anyway, I don't know if this is related, but it was just I put it in there. Let's see what else we got. So you have Barry Lyndon's flintlock dueling pistol. Dueling is a category, and I've made lists of these. And dueling has two people, and we see the dueling pistols in Dr. Strangelove on the wall. We see the dueling pistols in Barry Lyndon twice. So that's 6 times you saw dueling pistols. So, and they come in pairs. So I said before, you have the one-eyed man and the one-armed man and the one-leg man, but the actual appendages originally came in pairs. So you have a pair of dueling pistols. So let's do a short summary here. You've got double barrel, single barrel. You got bolt action. You've got semi-automatic. You've got lever action. You've got semi-automatic pistol. You've got revolver pistol. You've got the bolt assembly. There's also a block crater on one of the Apollo missions, block crater. So you have the breech block. You have lockwood. This would be the lock of the weapon. And you've got the wooden stock on the M14 Garand rifle. The Galileo's telescope. The crosshairs that are missing. The trigger, the horse. And, of course, the variety of ammo. You have 223, you have 45 ACP, you have 7.62 millimeter, you have oh God, I don't even know what the tanks use, but I'm sure they had some special ammo for them. And let's pause this. Okay, this is something I wanted to touch on as well. One of the ways Kubrick hides this puzzle is it's mathematic in a way, and I'll tell you why. If you are looking for an actress for one of your movies, suppose you're looking for a woman to be in Eyes Wide Shut. If you interview 100 women for the role, one of them is going to have red hair. One of them will be a real redhead. They're 1 out of 100. So when you look at the Kubrick movies themselves and you start noticing there's redheads hidden everywhere, you realize that in order for this to happen, he had to look at 100 women to find his real redhead. Or, so this is how the puzzle works. So redheads are 1 out of 100. So you find one redhead. You find Margaret. Okay, you found Margaret Keane. She's the Big Eyes artist, and she's 1 out of 100. So then you go to JFK. Okay, that's okay. It's 1 out of 100. And then Marilyn Monroe. That's 1 out of 100. And Nicole Kidman. That's 1 out of 100. And Orville Redenbacher. That's 1 out of 100. Tycho Brahe. That's 1 out of 100. I mean, you get my idea. There's, at some point, it's not a statistical anomaly. It's a language. It's being repeated over and over, and it's being repeated in sometimes in very obtuse ways. And it may not be apparent the first time you see it, but so yeah, you got JFK, Marilyn Monroe, Nicole Kidman, Tycho Brahe, Napoleon, Helena, Mandy, Domino, Marion, Marie Windsor, Adrian Corey, H.G. Wells, Van Gogh, Judy Garland. So this is the whole, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Ridley Scott, Tony Scott, Sigourney Weaver, Pepper Potts. This is a connection. Iron Man is alchemical. I'm seeing posters of Kubrick mashups and Iron Man, and so you got Pepper Potts. She play, So you got the Pepper clue in there. She's a redhead. Eric Stoltz is the hidden redhead in Back to the Future, and then you've got the 2 girls that play the redheads. I didn't even list them. Wells, and I don't even know what the other one's name is. Jill St. John, she jumps into the Bond movie. She's got a red hair. She's a Jill, Jack and Jill. They're, are the 2 bunnies that went up the hill. A Jack and a Jill. Yeah, and of course she's a St. John, so she's all thing Johnny. I mean, she's a redhead, she's a Johnny, she's a Jack and Jill. And she's St. John, just like the St. John boy and his dog in the St. John River, the Colville painting. So she's, even if you didn't watch the movie and you just knew she was in it, you could pretty much be assured that the movie's alchemical. And then you have Stuart Russo of Apollo. He was a redhead. Tom Cruise is not a real redhead, yet his daughter has red hair in Eyes Wide Shut, so he's a fake redhead. Obviously, your daughter can't have red hair unless you carry the gene, so... So we have a category of fake redheads as well. If you look up here, Lucille Ball is a fake redhead. Jamie Lee Curtis plays a redhead in Trading Places. She's a faux redhead. She takes her wig off. And of course, Queen Elizabeth. She's the queen of the redheads. So you can see here that, if you go 1 out of 100, 1 out of 100, 1 out of 100, and you go, you get all the way down to here. Is it really random? No, it's not. So let's go from the redheads. And this is not even the full list. I didn't even do them all. I mean, it gets ridiculous. I've made lists of these before. Then we go right into the dick category. The dick category is getting ridiculous. I realize that, you have Private Joker and Private Rafterman. So you got 2 privates. So privates is another word for your dick. It's my privates. So let's begin from the beginning. You got the fellatio, the implied fellatio scene in the B-52, Dr. Strangelove. You got Lee Ermey, I want that head so clean the Virgin Mary would be proud. And you got Lee Ermey, what are you animals doing in my head? It says head right on, they spray painted head right on the bathroom door. And of course, bathrooms in every movie. And you get the Vietnamese prostitute. She goes, "Sucky." Her John says, "Sucky, fucky, pussy, long time." When they come up to the men, so he's telling them, "Yeah, she'll sucky, fucky." You got Tu Buku about his dick. You got the redhead bathroom, the Biltmore bathroom in The Shining is the redhead. This is one of the big clues you find when you go, "Oh, I think he's using redheads." When you find out that they're referring to it as the redhead. They don't go, "Oh, it's the Biltmore bathroom." No, they go, "Oh, the redhead, the red bathroom in the in the Shining." So you start building an association with the red bathroom, the redhead, and then you run into the heads category, and you're like, "Oh, it's a redhead." And of course, you've got Samuel Phillips as the NASA Apollo head. So we have heads as a category. We got the redheads. What are you animals doing in my head? I want that head so clean. You got the fellatio head that's being given to the B-52. So it turns out Samuel Phillips was the NASA head. And then, so you have Phillips head. So one of the acronyms for you crazy, you're nutty, you're fruity, you're one flew over the cuckoo's nest is you got a screw loose. He's not wrapped too tight. So if you got a screw loose, you could have a Phillips head screw, you could have an Allen head screw, or you could have a flathead screw. So how do we make this jump to Phillips, Samuel Phillips, NASA head? Well, we make the jump because we see Phillips Conoco in The Shining. This is Durkin's garage, Durkin's Conoco. So Conoco is Phillips Conoco. It's the same family. It's the same Phillips Petroleum, Samuel Phillips. The log cabin was run by Papa John Phillips, same family. Michelle Phillips was his wife, same family. Mackenzie Phillips, the same family. Wilson and Phillips, this is one of the Phillips. So you got the Phillips head screws, you got the explosive bolts, you got the Allen head, and you got the flathead. So then you got the dicks, the head, the shaft, the Dick Bird, the Dickie Bird Jr. Dickie Bird was the hated nickname of Dick Halloran in King's book. You got the privates. You got Joker, Rafterman, 8-Ball, Snowball. There's a whole bunch of them. And you got Private Hand Job. So this is a direct reference to your dick and a hand job. Mine Shaft, Cream Pie Fight. It's missing from the movie. It's been edited out. So we're always looking for what's missing. The Cream Pie Fight's amazing. You got the Peters projection. And this is one of the clues to the azimuthal equidistant projection, the front screen projection that enables the Apollo fakery, the rear screen projection we see in Clockwork Orange, and there's not just one projection. We also have I think it's the Moore projection that we see on the wall in Clockwork Orange. Sort of looks like a heart, but it's rounded off, so it's the Moore projection. And you have the Robinson projection, and there's a whole bunch of them. The Hart projection, the Diamond projection. You have the Adams probe, so it's your Adams probe. It's your Peters projection. He's giving you Peters projection when he gives you Adams probe, because when you find the biblical thread, you realize that Adams is being referred to as a man, and so it's Adams probe would be his dick, and it gives you the two words, Adam and his probe. And so when you find, if you know Flat Earth inside and out, immediately when you see Adam's probe, you go, oh, the Peters projection. So, this is a dick, it's a Peter. You got Dick Nixon, Tricky Dick, so we see the ceramic Tricky Dick in Clockwork Orange. We got Barry Lyndon, he dicks every woman he meets in that movie. He's dicking his wife, he's dicking the women when he's in the war, he's doing the support staff, he's doing the people that work in the kitchen. I mean, it's just like he's mounting everyone. He's like JFK. So JFK was dicking everyone too. And you have Dick Clark. So how do I get Dick Clark? That seems like a huge leap, right? Well, Danny is born on 1/1. Salinger is born on 1/1. We're told the Tet Offensive was on the Vietnamese New Year. We see Jack reading the Playgirl magazine, and of course it's the 1/1, January 1st, New Year's edition. So we're given New Year's, the holiday. This is one of the holiday clues, several different ways. So Mr. New Year's is Dick Clark. There's no doubt about it. So you got Dick he's Clark, and this is the night the ball drops. So this really fits in too well to be a coincidence. You've got Philip K. Dick. He was one of the first people that came out, and he said that we live in a pseudo-simulated world. He goes, it's a real world, but it's not really totally controlled by us. And he refers to the killing of Kennedy as one of the times that he noticed that every once in a while something happens that's not supposed to happen, and it's just sort of like a reset. Somebody gets out of line, they reset him. And so he's one of our dicks, and he's a sci-fi author, just like Heinlein, who's the father of science fiction. He was one of the Apollo commentators. Then you've got Arthur C. Clarke. So there's a subcategory of sci-fi authors. So we have Arthur C. Clarke, we have Robert Heinlein, we have Philip K. Dick, we have Philip K. Dick writes Blade Runner. So he's in the puzzle already. Then you got Lyndon Johnson. This is another word for your dick, your Johnson, your mine shaft. You've got Andrew Johnson replaces Lyndon, or Andrew Johnson replaces Lincoln after his death. So these are part of the palindrome clues with Lincoln and Kennedy. Don Johnson, this is the clues to A Boy and His Dog. So you have Charlie Brown and Snoopy, it's A Boy and His Dog. You have Alex Colville, the painting on the wall in The Shining, A Boy and His Dog. You have Woman and Terrier. What's the opposite of Woman and Terrier? A Boy and His Dog. So we're being given Boy and His Dog. So that turns out was a Harlan Ellison creation, and starring Don Johnson. And Danny is John's son, Jack's son. So this is where you get Johnson Jackson, which would be Michael Jackson. And then you have the cock and the hen. You know, we're using the jack and the hare. We're using the buck and the doe. We're using the cow and the bull. We're using the what's the other one? Jack and the hare. The billy and the sheep, and the kid and the sheep. So we're using these animal names in the puzzle. So cock, hen, it fits in perfectly. You got Peter Sellers. This is another word for your Peter. He was playing with his Peter. Peter Hyams, he's the one that does Capricorn 1. Peter Pan, this is Never Never Land, and Michael Jackson's Never Never Land. This is one of the lands. You got Never Never Land and Scotland. You know all these Scottish men. Where are they from? They're from Scotland. So you got Never Never Land, Scotland, Wonderland. It was the name of the school in Laurel Canyon. So I've made lists of these lands before, and of course now we have Falkland. You have Peter Falk. He's a one-eyed Jack. He's a detective. And we have Falklands. Peter the Great, I suspect, is in it. I don't have any connections to him yet, but he's using greats, and so. Peter Cottontail, this is one of the Rabbit's clues. Peter Rabbit. Peter Benchley, he does Jaws, so there's connections into Jaws already. Peter Fonda, he's an Easy Rider. Peter George, he writes the book Failsafe. Pete Conrad, he's an Apollo. Peter Falk, this is the whole Falkland thing, I believe. Peter Bull, he's the guy that almost starts laughing in the scene when Peter Sellers is talking about his mine shaft. And then Peter Ustinov. Peter Ustinov is the man that tells us a dull brain is as common as a good body, or something like that. I think that's it. A dull brain is as common as life itself, or something like that. So he's giving you the dull. So you have the dull brain, sharp boy. All work, and now play. So we're given opposites, work and play, sharp and dull. So there you go. Okay, so you have sharp, dull. You know, so you just, dull is flat, sharp note, flat note. The only word that can be used in all the context of all work and no play make Jack a dull boy is the word flat. Something can be dull and flat. Something can be sharp, note, and flat. So, you know, this is how you get clues to that we're looking for flat in all work and no play. And then we're back to the gun clues. And I think that's it for this one. Maybe we could touch on the hats. There's the redheads. Where are the hats? This is a new discovery. I saw an interview with Lee Ermey, and he says, "Oh yeah, we did that Full Metal Jacket there, and I walked right in there with the Smokey the Bear hat on and started giving orders, and then I stopped and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! The nickname of the hat he wears in Full Metal Jacket is the Smokey the Bear hat, because if you look at you look at a picture of Smokey the Bear, he always wears that hat, and it's a Lee Ermey hat. So I told you guys before that we were using hats, and I haven't found them all, but I just found a new one. So this is a connection to the smoky-colored bear carpet that's in The Shining, Smokey the Bear, where there's smoke, there's fire. You know, these are all the chain-smoking clues, and the overlook burns down, and Jack swings a fire axe, and Danny wants to play with his fire truck. And in the book, the overlook burns down. In the movie, it doesn't. And then you have the Stanley Hotel, has a gas leak, and it explodes and starts on fire, and it's haunted. The overlook is built on the side of an inactive volcano. You get the Burns twins. You got the Apollo 1 fire. So fire is a thread. And then, another one I did realize the other day was is David Lynch has his Twin Peaks thing there. And, part of it was Fire Walk with Me. So you got Woody Strode, the high jumper, Jackie Robinson, the long jumper. You got Moonwalker, Skywalker, and Fire Walk with Me. So it fits right into the whole, jump, hop, leap, walk, run. So you've got the Smokey the Bear hat Lee Ermey wears. You've got the baseball cap. These are all the baseball clues we have. You got the football helmet. So an Easy Rider, Jack Nicholson wears a football helmet. And, of course, you got Woody Strode, the first black professional football player. You got Jackie Robinson, the first black professional baseball player. You got Mickey Mantle. You've got Lou Gehrig. You've got Hank Aaron. You've got, I'm terrible with baseball. Then you have Billie Jean King, the tennis cap. You got the Apollo astronauts' helmets were fish bowls. You got the Woody Strode hat that's mirrored. It's a mirror of Napoleon's hat. And then Kurt Russell wears the same Napoleon Woody Strode hat. In Full Metal Jacket, they have the hand-decorated helmets. So he's telling you that you need to look at these, with this headgear. It's another channel on the Kubrick set. And you got the snow cap that Scatman wears. You've got the polar caps. And you got in The Shining, there's Snowbound. They got a snow cat. And there's a snow track. And they play snowball. Wendy and Danny have a snowball fight. So remember, you had Snowball in Full Metal Jacket. So there's a double snowball. It's Snowball. And you have Lolita and her crown. She has a little tiara that she wears in the movie. So this is not the complete hats thread. This is the first beginnings of Kubrick's hat thread. Barry Lyndon was filled with hats, and I'm sure they're all, the tricorners and everything else. So, in order for you to decode his full hats thing, now you have to find out everything about hats, and so that's how you do it. You find a repeating thread, you find everything about him, and oh wow, now it all fits together. Another one I found out. This is interesting. Charles Berlitz was born November 22nd, 1913. We see Charles Berlitz, the Bermuda Triangle book, in They Live when Roddy Piper puts the glasses on. And so that was interesting. And I think that's it for 53. I'll put the picture back on here. And I hope you guys like the new theme song. It's kind of a rip-off of Mission Impossible, but it's not exactly Mission Impossible. The main lead of it is not Mission Impossible. The midway through the song, it turns into Mission Impossible. Well, that's it. Have a good night, guys. And I don't know what's going on. There's like 120 views in the last video, and it has 1 like. That's bizarre. I never get 1 like and 120 views. So either that or maybe it's like the worst video I ever did in my life. But anyway, that's the deal.